On this week's Mailbag episode, the San Diego Padres lose 2 out of 3 against the Astros, but they did salvage it on Sunday night, and thankfully, it looks like Luis Arraez, the scary injury that he suffered, he's going to be okay. Talking about all of that and more, Tatis's MVP season, Dylan Cease's pretty good start, and, of course, answering some of your questions. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Monday, April 21st. As always, I'm your host of Sometimes Occasionally, but certainly not always the most, Javier Reyes. You can follow me on Twitter /X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, Javiipeno. Feel free to reach out on there. So you can be featured on the Mailbag, which is every Monday. You can reach out on there. You could leave YouTube comments, whatever you prefer, whatever you want. I'm here for you guys. You know what I'm saying? Despite the fact that today's episode, my apologies for the late upload. It had a little bit of things to take care of, and I didn't think that I was going to have to take care of them, so my bad. But thankfully, it's an early week series to start the week, so you will be getting episodes in a timely fashion in the AM. But also, guys, let me tell you, speaking of timely fashion, Monarch Money. Not my best transition yet, but this episode is brought to you by them today. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at Monarch Money for 50% off your first year. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. And I'm excited because I think that this was, you would think that this would be like kind of not a miserable episode, but you would think that this is going to be an episode that's not as uppity, not as fun, because the Padres did lose 2 out of 3 games this weekend. They stopped their momentum a little bit, but that's to be expected, right? They weren't playing, necessarily a layup team here in the case of the Astros. And while the Astros offense has not been very good this year, they did have a little bit of a comeback, as you saw this weekend, with some players who had been underperforming. But even before that, my thing is the Padres have been playing so good, right? They beat the Cubs really badly. They swept them. Did they sweep the Cubs? I think they swept the Cubs, right? Did we sweep the Cubs? No, we lost game 2. Oh, that's right. Okay, we lost the second game. But anyway, you guys get my point. I think that this was still a pretty good series for the Padres. And the biggest reason for that is because we had a scare. We're going to talk about this first. Luis Arraez. You guys probably heard about it. It was all over the internet. Running to first base, had a little bit of a collision with Mauricio Dubon, trying to cover after Arraez laid down a bunt. And, trying to get that infield hit. He actually had a pretty good weekend, a home run in this weekend series as well. But he ran into him. Basically, Dubon had to kind of throw himself a little bit to get to the bag in time, and kind of ended up being a little bit above the bag, which resulted in him accidentally running into Suarez with his elbow kind of underneath the chin. And he was just, he kind of just laid him out, right? In a lot of ways, unintentionally, of course. And Arraez was not really moving, and he had to get carted off the field. And it was very scary. In a lot of ways. And I genuinely say this, and I don't say this a lot because I don't want to come off as not placating, but I don't want to, when things like this happen, I try not to tweet too much about them in a lot of ways. Because I don't want to farm or make it seem like I'm farming for engagement. I'm not saying that that's what other people do. I think there are some people who do that, but I'm always worried about that. So that's why I kind of didn't react as I'm playing with my hair. If you're watching the video for form of the show, by the way. But it was genuinely in the moment, and I don't like being hyperbolic at all when I'm doing my commentary and stuff, but it's probably one of the more scary injuries I had seen on a baseball field. In terms of that raw, freak out moment, he was just on the floor, not really moving all that much. And it was very scary, right? Obviously Dubon didn't mean this intentionally. The Padres did not retaliate or anything like that. That would have been ridiculous in a lot of ways. But he didn't get up. So then he gets taken out of the game. Gavin Sheets has to replace him, which is, yes, Gavin Sheets has been good this year, but he is a lefty, and it was against Framber Valdez, so that's not the best matchup. So not an ideal scenario for the Padres, and it was really scary because, remember, this is the last game of a series as well. So on top of the fact that you might be getting swept, Luis Arraez has this horrific injury, and like I said, I wasn't even thinking about the series anymore, frankly. I was just I hope the dude's all right. And I was optimistic that he'd be all right. He's going to get good protection and good coverage and good, attention, I should say. He's going to be okay, hopefully. And it turns out he was. He actually posted on Instagram as well. He said, "Dear fans and everyone who was concerned about me, as you saw, I had to leave tonight's game. on a stretcher after a collision during a play. I was taken to Houston Methodist Hospital where I underwent the necessary medical tests. Thankfully, there's nothing to worry about. I'm currently resting and plan to rejoin the team on Monday. I truly appreciate all your prayers and kind messages. I want to thank the medical and paramedic staff of both the Padres and the Astros, as well as those who took care of me at the hospital. Most importantly, I thank God for his protection. I'm doing well now, with the flag emoji, with the heart, and with the prayer emoji. So shout out to Arraez. He did rejoin the team in the clubhouse as well. Just excellent news, right? So thankfully this was just a scare, and we don't have to hopefully talk about it further. I don't want to speculate too much on whether there's going to be an IL stint. All that I know is the guy's okay, and that's the biggest thing right now. So that's really great news. Yeah, I mean, really just a really crazy moment. A really crazy moment. And I mentioned it in the little YouTube short that I uploaded last night in reaction to the game, that it was probably the scariest one that I'd seen, or at least one of the more violent ones that I've seen, probably since the Buster Posey incident, which one of you actually left a comment about that I'm going to talk about later. And I don't mean that in terms of the same parameters, it's catcher, that's a little bit different, the rules, blah, 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 but in terms of a collision, you just don't see that in baseball very often, right? Out of all the sports, you just don't see a moment like that happen. And to see it happen to Arraez was obviously very jarring and scary. And it reminded me of the Buster Posey thing, where he just got laid out too at home plate, and you were like, oh man, it was an elbow kind of hit, and ended up being really bad for Buster Posey, right? Breaking his collarbone, I believe. So thankfully, doesn't seem like we've had anything like that with Arraez. He's back, he's good. Love to hear it. So let's move on a little bit. So that's actually some happy news. And other happy news is that the Padres won this game, folks. And it's not going to be remembered as much as Tatis, but Dylan Cease had a pretty good start in this one as well, giving up only 2 runs. And here's the thing. I understand. We've talked about this before, that Dylan Cease has not been performing the way that I think that people have come to expect from him. But he still had a pretty good game in this one. 5 innings, 2 earned runs on 6 hits, 1 walk, 6 Ks. That's a fine start, right? He just hasn't gone supernova mode yet. But what I did like is, you saw fastball and slider, he was going after guys. And at one point he threw 17 of 21 pitches were sliders, I think they said on the broadcast, or around that number. And in total he generated 10 whiffs on 22 swings from the slider. They weren't hitting it, right? Knuckle curve he threw 7 times, sinker 4 times, sweeper once. At least according to Baseball Savant. That's interesting to note because the changeup has just been abandoned, right? We talked about this last week as well. I think it's interesting. Can he develop a third pitch in any way? Doesn't look like he's going for that. It looks like his third pitch is going to be occasionally using a knuckle curve. Maybe something to just mix things up. Maybe a little bit as a put away pitch depending on the batter. But it's not his most effective pitch. He's a fastball slider guy. And I think that before heading into free agency, it's possible that he doesn't want to tinker too much, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that Cease kept getting roughed up to start this year, and then he slowly abandoned the changeup, which at one point he threw 10 times in consecutive games, right? Now he's not throwing it at all. So he's not going that direction. He's going to be a fastball slider guy who throws a knuckle curve. I'm still optimistic about Cease. The only thing I'd be worried about is if you think he was going to be a Cy Young winner, right? That's the only thing I would wonder about. Otherwise, I'm like, this is a guy who's going to throw a lot of innings. He's going to get you a 28% or so strikeout rate. He's going to be very good, right? I have no doubt about that. And I think that we are going to get a really awesome stretch from him soon, right? I think he's just had a bad month, and he is prone to that. Given what we've talked about, gives up hard hit stuff. He doesn't generate a huge ground ball rate. That's what happens sometimes with pitchers, but he does get the Ks, and he is consistent in terms of his output every year. So not freaking out. Nice start for him against an Astros team that, while not performing great so far, is still pretty dangerous. And then the big thing in this game, Fernando Tatis Jr., the go-ahead home run in this one. What a clutch dog he is in the top of the 7th inning, and the Padres end up winning the game. Gavin Sheets also driving in a run. And Xander Bogaerts, he hit fielder's choice. That wasn't great in the top of the 1st inning, but it does allow a run to score. And before you hate on Bogaerts, he actually played pretty okay last night, right? He actually hit the ball really hard, as hard as he hit it all weekend. He had a double that was 110.1 miles per hour off the bat. That was awesome. He had a single that was not hit all that well, right? You know what I mean? It was expected batting average of 90, but it went through. And then he had the double play, which he hit, like I said, really hard as well. 109.4 miles per hour off the bat. It was a double play ball. That was in the 3rd inning, unfortunately, but it had an expected batting average of 660. So Bogaerts was actually pretty good in this game, but I'm still waiting for him to really give us a moment. You know what I mean? He did get a little bit unlucky, but he hasn't really given us that huge of a moment, especially with runners on base this year. In terms of high leverage situations, according to FanGraphs, he's got a 70 WRC plus on the season. That's good for a 222 batting average for my non-advanced stats guys. So he's drawn some walks before, but he hasn't driven anybody in. He's got a 222 slugging in those situations. And then if you just want to do in terms of runners in scoring position, not necessarily all that much better, right, in terms of the situation. 56 WRC plus for him this year. So he's got to get better at that. I'm hoping he will. I would be very surprised if 3 years in a row Bogaerts doesn't produce with runners on base. That's not something that tends to happen in baseball. It's just not. So we'll have to see how it goes. But folks, we got more from this weekend to talk about. And then we're, of course, going to get into the mailbag because it's Mailbag Monday, folks. But first, I need to talk to you about our sponsor that we talked about at the beginning of the show in just a second. And folks, that sponsor is the good folks over at the Money of Monarch. Folks, the Money of Monarch. If you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did my money go? Well, let me tell you, between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, just movies, right? Like going to ball games, whatever it is, that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. Folks, a command center. That sounds good, right? You can check all your accounts, investments, and spending in just one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. They've got a bunch of surprising insights for you. They've got the all-in-one convenience with it being a command center and whatnot, and there's really easy collaboration. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever thanks to Monarch Money. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Go on and check it out. And just like that, folks, we are back thriving and vibing here on the second segment of the Locked On Padres podcast for Monday. Remember, just a friendly reminder, go check me out on Twitter/X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. If you want to send me questions. If you don't, that's fine too. You can hate me. That's fine too. I'm all cool with that. You know what I mean? I'm all cool with that. But you can go check that out, guys. Love to answer your questions. And we'll get to that in a second. Lastly, I forgot to mention as well, Padres bullpen coming up huge in yesterday's game. Jason Adam and Robert Suarez. Suarez, 3 whiffs on his fastball. Looked awesome. It looks like so far, that was probably the most thing that I've been the most wrong on this season. It has been Robert Suarez, a player that I was genuinely worried about. I don't know if I said that he would be a bust. I wouldn't go as that far. I wasn't going to say this guy's going to be a disaster, but it was a little bit of a concern given what we saw last year. But he's such a good example of sometimes you just ignore the numbers and you just say, hey, that boy nice, and you just go from there, right? Because Suarez just looks super aggressive, and the development of his changeup has really given him that other offering that's throwing batters off, that even if they sometimes get used to seeing the fastball, no matter how hard it is, no matter how fast it's going, batters will adjust. But with that changeup sprinkled in there, he's just a nightmare to face right now. I'm feeling really good about him for the rest of the season. I'm not going to abandon fully my take that I thought he had a little bit of regression potential, but I'm definitely feeling like I think this guy's going to be great. He's just been automatic, and he's so confident. He's quiet confidence, too. That's what I like about him. As I talked about with Woodsy, Mr. Stephen Woods on Friday's episode of the show. Go check that one out. Or Thursday's episode of the show. You guys seem to like it. In terms of Saturday's game, though, the Padres did not win. They actually started off the scoring themselves first, though. Tatis hit a home run in the top of the 3rd inning. Man, he's been awesome. Manny Machado also a double, allowing Tatis to score. It looked like it was going to be a home run for a second. Manny Machado just hitting the crap out of the ball so far this year, by the way. We haven't really talked enough about Manny. I think he's actually slowly becoming just a tiny bit underrated, just a tiny bit, right? In terms of hard hit rate this year, he's in the 96th percentile. Last year, he was in the 90th percentile as well. 2023, he went down a little bit, but what I'm seeing from him so far is that, plus he's not striking out as much, he's drawing a few more walks, and he's chasing a lot, though, which tells me that the batting average might go down a little bit, right? He's probably going to take a little bit less walks, a little bit more strikeouts because of the chase rate, but he's hitting the ball so dang hard, and he's making contact enough that, this is Manny, man. He's just amazing. He looks like everything's going to be fine. Any worries that we had about him, I'm all good with. And honestly, I'm not looking at the fielding metrics, the advanced stuff. He's -2 outs above average. I'm not listening to that right now. I watch him play. He looks good. He's had a couple miscues, but I watch him play. He looks good. And defense is not smart to analyze over a small sample size that we've had so far. But In terms of the starting pitcher of the game, Mr. Michael King throwing an absolute gem in this one. 7 whiffs on his sweeper. He's killing it until he's not. He gives up a huge home run to Christian Walker, of all people, who heading into this series had a WRC plus of about 56, and then he hits a big home run, tying the game in the bottom of the 6th inning. Isaac Paredes ends up getting the go-ahead single off of our boy Yuki Matsui. I'm sorry, it was Jeremiah Estrada. My apologies. Why did I think it was Matsui? Was that Friday? I don't remember. But Jeremiah Estrada, he gives up the run in this one, the go-ahead run. But it's all good. I mean, the Padres, in terms of bullpen this year, have just been so far and away the best in Major League Baseball that I literally don't think I can complain at all, right? They just don't surrender big leads. They don't surrender big leads, small leads. They don't surrender, right? This has just been such an amazing bullpen, and I'm just buying it, man. 1.57 ERA for the Padres bullpen. You know who's in second place? The Giants. You know what their ERA is as a team? 2.22. Just to give you an idea of how much better this Padres bullpen has been. This is what AJ Preller wanted. He wanted a team that had a few stars, right? Had a few stars that he thinks can carry an offense. Tatis, Merrill, Machado. Hopefully get stuff out of Jake Cronenworth and Xander Bogaerts too. And then he wanted just total run prevention. This bullpen is the best he's ever assembled, and I really think to an extent that it's legit. I don't think this is going to change that much. In terms of them being an elite top 5 bullpen, I just don't think it's going to change. I really don't. They end up losing this one. The Padres just not able to kind of come up with runners at the end of the game, not able to drive them in, and it happens. It's okay. Unfortunately, right? Because it wasn't necessarily one of the best starters in the world with Hayden Wesneski, but Padres bullpen not terrible. They aren't able to get against Hader, despite the fact that they started off things okay with the Iglesias double. Whatever, it happens. Moving on to Friday's game, though. There's one more, and this one was a little bit more depressing, and that's because Kyle Hart got hit pretty hard in this one, at least at the beginning. Kyle Hart, 5 innings, 5 earned runs, 10 hits, 0 walks, 2 Ks. Yeah, I mean, it's been a weird season for Mr. Kyle Hart, right? Like, he's got a 6.48 ERA. He had a good start to start things off. 5 innings, 2 earned runs against the Guardians. Then he didn't last inning against the Cubs. Then he went 6 and only gave up a hit against the Rockies. And then he gives up 5 on 10 hits against the Astros. It's just been tale of two cities, but I do think that it is fair to say Cleveland, not the best offense in the world. They didn't add anybody really this offseason. And then Cubs, good offense. Then Rockies, horrendous offense. And then the Astros, pretty good offense. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that he struggled against good hitting teams. I don't know. I think that the problem with the Kyle Hart thing is that I don't necessarily know who else they have to replace him. You traded your pitching prospects last year, and then Matt Waldron, he's on the 60-day IL. So you kind of are just hoping that Yu Darvish gets back. And you just kind of go from there, right? Like I said this before, I think it's possible that Kyle Hart is a bullpen guy at some point, but we just have to hope that Yu Darvish comes back at this point. It's a little scary, but thank the Lord for Nick Pivetta, man, because gosh, they need that guy right now. But also in Friday's game, Tyler Wade, he drives in an RBI. Oscar Gonzalez drives in an RBI. Luis Arraez, our boy, he hits a home run in this one, allowing Fernando Tatis Jr. to score, making it 5-4, but unable to kind of claw their way back, right? They just weren't able to. Not the best series for the Padres, but also not a horrible one, right? A Kyle Hart start that didn't go well, a Michael King start that was going well until one bad pitch against Christian Walker. Kyle Hart also giving up 2 home runs to Cam Smith, who had been awful all year, right? Kind of the story of this weekend is that Cam Smith and Christian Walker, brutal home runs allowed by them, and they had not been doing basically anything at the plate all year. That's kind of the story of Padres pitching this weekend in terms of why they lost. But overall, the games are still close, and you love to see that. And a big part of that is because of Tatis, and a big part of that is the bullpen. The bullpen is unbelievable. And as for Tatis right now, there's basically nobody in baseball that's been all that much better outside just a couple players like your Corbin Carrolls, right? Like Tatis has been unbelievable this year, and I don't see it really changing. He's second in Major League Baseball in terms of wins above replacement, only behind Aaron Judge, who's at 2 right now, who's got a 243 WRC plus. Corbin Carroll so far has been awesome, right? He's been awesome too, 1.7 wins above replacement. But let me tell you, Corbin Carroll striking out a whole lot more, 25%. While Tatis, what's so impressive about him is he's got a 12.8% walk rate, 12.8% strikeout rate. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? Like, that's just unbelievable. And Tatis has made a couple really, in one case last week, you guys saw the Rockies play. Defensively, he's looked a lot sharper out there in certain points. I just think it's possible he wins the MVP. It really is. We're going to have to see what happens with Ohtani, especially if he pitches. But what I've seen so far has just been really, really, really good stuff from our guy. And I don't really think that's going to change. I don't. And I'll say that in terms of defense, we'll have to see how those metrics kind of play out over the course of the year. But, it's fun. I mean, Kyle Tucker's still in the race, right? Jung Ho Lee has been amazing for the Giants. Pete Alonso's been really great, but he's first base. I feel like that doesn't, you have to do something pretty unbelievable to win there. It's just been awesome watching this, right? But we're going to have to see, because with an injury to Arraez, with Jackson Merrill and Jake Cronenworth already out, with Brandon Lockridge out, with Jason Hayward out, you got a lot of injuries on this team so far. Yuli Gurriel still getting at bats. I will say, best game of the season for him possibly on Sunday. Not only does he have a hit and a walk, he also has a potentially double, like a preventing a double in the 9th inning off of Robert Suarez, a diving catch over at first base. So shout out to him. But overall, not great, right? We're going to have to see how this Padres depth plays out. And this Detroit series will be a good test, because they've been playing some pretty decent ball. Even if it's been a bad division, they're at least a test, right? You're not going to be playing Rockies or any of these type of teams that you think you could walk all over. So we're going to have to see how that pans out. But before that, guys, we have to get into the mailbag. But not before we take one more break to hear from our sponsors. And just like that, we are back here in the final moments of the Locked On Padres podcast one more time. Let me just tell you, follow me on Twitter /X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. What can I say, folks? What can I say? It's mailbag time. So let's get into it, because we got a lot of questions to answer. First one coming from, let's see, actually, which one should I do first? Let's see here. First of all, my guy Kaz reaching out, just saying some good words. He said, hey, what's up, man? Been a minute, but still listening to you on the pod daily. I'm so happy we got off to an early start this season. My biggest concern is our starting pitching. I mean, we saw it the last 2 nights with King and Dillon just being overworked. What's your thought? Love the pod, keep faithful. Now, I don't think you meant it like this in terms of literally being overworked, as they only went 5 innings, but I know what you mean. I just think that King has been awesome all year. I understand the concerns about Cease, but as I said in the first segment, I think he's going to be okay. I really do. I just think that he's a pitcher that's susceptible to having a bloated ERA sometimes. We saw this last year, but the end result I think will be pretty good. I haven't seen anything crazy, right? We'll see in his next start, though. If he's bad if he's like bad in his next start, then maybe I might be like, okay. But if he has another start like what he had before, I'm like, okay, he's gonna have his moment. He's gonna have his moment where he's awesome. And I know, great start so far to the season, man. Then Rama Murdy, who reached out to me on Blue Sky, said, question for Monday's show: do we have enough depth to survive all the injuries we have right now? Now, here's the thing. In a way, no. But the type of injuries that they have, they are not the type of injuries that I'm like, yeah, we can't survive this right now. It has been reported that Jackson Merrill could be out for another week at least, and that Jake Cronenworth could be out for another 2 weeks at least. So clearly the Padres, classic Padres, completely underselling the injuries to these two guys. Here's my thing. I'm hoping that they're not too long. I don't think that these are injuries that are going to keep them out for 2 months. I don't think it's going to be like Giancarlo Stanton that 1 year when he was just perpetually on the 10-day IL for what felt like 3 months. But I will say, I understand the skepticism by fans of being like, I don't trust this team. Mike Schilt literally said, we're optimistic he's going to be in the lineup for Friday. And then all of a sudden, Jake Cronenworth is placed on the IL and they're saying he might be out 2 weeks, right? So I get that. But overall, I don't think that these are injuries they can't survive at all, especially with the way the rest of the team is playing right now. The fact that you can get at least a little bit of value out of some guys like Jose Iglesias, like Gavin Sheets, and that I think Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, and especially Fernando Tatis Jr. can hold down and give them enough offense with good starting pitching that I think will improve with Dylan Cease and Michael King, and especially Nick Pivetta as well. And the bullpen, which has been the best in Major League Baseball. Like, I think they can survive, since it doesn't seem like the injuries are going to keep them out too long. We'll have to see, but I'm optimistic. And I will say that overall, though, man, this Padres team, the lineup depth is a little bit scary sometimes. I saw that they called up Tirso Ornelas because of the Jason Hayward injury. Hopefully he can show us something. Can he give us some good bat to ball skills? I'm hopeful he can. He's also shown some decent defense out there before. So hopefully he can be okay. Because so far they're a little bit over outside Gavin Sheets in terms of those like depth guys that nobody really had any faith in or hadn't had any recent success. Gavin Sheets, he was a guy that had not had recent success, right? But looks like as a guy who just hits righties and he's not playing the field, he's been pretty dang good for the team so far. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to see if they change anything with Yuli Gurriel. I know that he had a good game on Sunday, but overall, I still don't get it. I think Eggy Rosario should be on this team. I think that on Saturday's game, when they were down by 1, a lefty like Josh Hader, I wouldn't mind having Eggy Rosario instead, a guy who always hits lefties. Gavin Sheets, who does he not hit? Lefties. You know who I'd like there? Eggy Rosario. Now, it's possible that the team just knows more. It's possible that the team's like, wait, we know this guy cannot play first whatsoever, and we want to have an extra first baseman on the roster with Gurriel. But still, least important position, first base defensively. I think we can figure it out, man. At least that's what I think. We'll have to see how it transpires. Maybe if Arraez is hurt more than we think, and he's placed on the IL, maybe then we could see him in the game in some way. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see, folks. It is going to be interesting for sure. Moving on, though. Proud of my Padres, says at jbird60283. Not thrilled about how we're hitting with runners in scoring position now, though. Too many chances with bases loaded. These games shouldn't have been close. I already brought up Bogaerts, right? Like, he's been a problem in that regard, and I'm just having trouble believing that he's going to have 2 consecutive years, right? Like, of being a decent performer, right? But then when it comes into driving runs, that he's going to be terrible. That's just not something that usually happens in baseball. But I get the concern, right? Like, this has been a problem with the Padres so far this year with runners in scoring position. In fact, when it comes to, average with runners in scoring position, the Padres are, let's see here, they are 17th in Major League Baseball, hitting .245. And if you want to go by WRC+, they have been even worse, 21st in Major League Baseball with runners in scoring position. Because Bogaerts, he's drawing some walks in those high leverage situations, but not else. Otherwise, all we've had really is Tatis, and we've had Manny. But in total, it's also fair to chalk that up to the fact that we've been missing Cronenworth and Merrill for a while now, or at least it feels like a while now. So hopefully that changes, but we will see. I get it, though. It's a fair concern. But remember that they were otherworldly last year with runners in scoring position, so that tends not to carry over year to year. I love this comment from @RichJH9. I love how Padres fans / media obsess about the Rosenthal thing, as if it mattered at all. Nobody else even knows what you're talking about. It's such a non-story. Referring to the Ken Rosenthal Sinister Sling story. Talked about it with Stephen Woods on Thursday. We did a little bit of Dodger hating for fun. And I love the comments, by the way. At Carlos Raba said, "Oh, look, another Dodger fan that has to hop on Padres-related content because he has nothing better to do with his miserable life." Okay, I don't want to go that far. But then at Payne RK says, "Bro is watching Locked On Padres," which killed me, by the way. Rich J, I don't know why you're commenting on this channel, being shocked that I might not like the Dodgers. It's very weird, frankly. Weirdo behavior, dare I say. Maybe not weirdo behavior, but weird behavior. And there's a difference. And yes, the reason that we're upset is because no one talks about the Ken Rosenthal story enough. That's like part of the thing, is the bias, right? Where like they frame the Padres as these evil supervillains when something happened to them, right? Not only on TV, but with the Ken Rosenthal article. It's just little annoying things that you notice when you're part of the fan base, and it's frustrating, but that's how it works. Coming in more, though, we got one of the wildest comments I've ever seen on this channel. Machado, this is coming from @MichaelLee9411. Machado is consistently MIA, RE, rarely coming through in clutch situations. Okay. Fernando consistently has to carry the team, and it's unfair that he has to do it, all because Luis Arraez is another clutch Merrill, Gavin Sheets. Again, this is a crazy question, guys. But Tatis, always along with the bullpen that has to carry the weight. It's why he always gets hurt and he can't play a full season, is because Machado doesn't pull his weight. Machado is not worth the money. I would have him traded already, and I still want him gone. And after 2025 for starting pitching, you can send him to Washington for Abrams and get a starting stable shortstop for the next 7 years in Abrams, and you can send Bogaerts to Cleveland for left fielder Stephen Kwan and more starting pitching. In both of those deals, you're going to have to eat $35 to $40 million per contract of Fernando and Xander, and the deal with Bogaerts, you have to include Kronos, worth eating additional $5 million. Again, this is just crazy, guys. Now, just to be clear, yes, you're eating $85 million of contracts, but you're saving $420 million over the next 8 years with these buffoons that are overpaid that don't come in the clutch. Look at Gavin Sheets. He's more clutch than Bogaerts. He's been since he's been here. Machado always is lazy and hits 250 until the garbage fall season of baseball bounces his average up to 275, where he collects garbage RBIs, etc., to make him look good. I'm sick of Machado's contract at $380 million for minimal. Does he come through? Blah, 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 blah. You guys are kind of getting the point right now. He hates Manny Machado because he doesn't come through. So, a couple things on this. If you're only talking about the postseason, Manny Machado has only had one postseason series in his career. that was above like a 750 OPS. And considering that he is a superstar player in baseball, that's not good, right? Like that is a totally fair thing to bring up with him, right? He has not been particularly great in that regard. And in terms of high leverage situations this year, he's got a negative 100 WRC plus actually, which is really, really wild. Like, I don't know how that's possible, frankly, for you to have in low leverage situations a 192, medium 146, and then a minus 100 in high leverage situations so far. But in general, this is not something that he's going to be bad in because that's high leverage situations. In terms of just runners in scoring position, you know what he's batting this year? He's got a 221 WRC plus. So again, high leverage is a little bit different. I think that they aren't counting more. This is why high leverage isn't perfect, because I think that they're not giving credit to fifth inning games where he puts the team away ahead, right? And then the bullpen locks it down for the rest of the game. There's probably just been a couple at bats where eighth inning or ninth inning, he hasn't gotten the hit. But overall, Manny Machado's been very good in the regular season. Postseason, this is fair, but regular season, not at all. And the idea of trading Bogaerts to Cleveland is hilarious. No one wants that contract right now. And Steven Kwan is awesome. You would have to trade for like a middling player, like, you know what I mean? Like a Bo Naylor or something like that out of Cleveland. So that's absolutely absurd. And again, it's just patently absurd to kind of suggest these things, that you're going to just trade Machado. Like, you're just not doing that. Manny Machado has been very, very good this season. And I just think that this is a bit of a lunatic comment. But I like reading all the comments. 0.8 WAR this year, 143 WRC plus. He's hitting 305. He's playing good defense despite what the advanced stats say. He's been awesome. Playoffs, I get the criticism. I think it's actually fair, to an extent. But regularly, I'm like, no, I'm not trading Manny Machado because he's had 2 at-bats where he hasn't gotten a hit when they want him to. He's been great this year. He's been awesome. Him and Tatis, both. Next comment, though, because we got a bunch more and I've been taking way too long on these. At LL4680 says, I'm born and raised in San Diego and I've met so many transplants that are diehard Padres fans now, or they root for their home team as secondary and the Padres are primary. Kind of weird, but cool to see. This, of course, in reference to my episode with Stephen Woods, where we both talked about how we grew up like Yankees fans and then we changed to the Padres. Love that very much. Moving on, though, to another negative comment. At Hope Springs Eternal 2024, you are a hypocrite, Javier. You said you don't even think the Padres will go to the playoffs this year. And then you also said Javier Lopez hates the Padres and does not think they will make the playoffs this year. For proof of what I just wrote, just look at his crossover with the Locked On Astros host. I am really bummed that Woods is on the show with him. Well, I'm sorry to bum you out. This will be the last comment I read from you, Mr. Hope Springs Eternal, because all of your comments are in bad faith and just trolling. And I do enjoy engaging with them and the nonstop BS that you're propagating about me, but you are also now responding to other people who comment on this channel and saying that you're reporting them for basically being like, what are you talking about? Javi was like, this team will be good. He just doesn't know if they'll make the playoffs because of the division and all that stuff. And yes, Luis Arraez can be overrated. I'm just going to say that one more time to annoy you. Can be overrated. But I'm going to start blocking you now from the channel because I don't want you interacting with the rest of the people who are very kind and have nice things to say. That's where I draw the line. Send me the message all you want. Stop reporting other people who are commenting on this channel. I don't stand for that. But just wanted to get that out of the way. Another thing we got at Jose Ayala says Jose Ayala 2730 says, bro, Ohtani would have never been a Padre. Do you really think you would have chosen Padres over Dodgers? Common guys? You guys are delusional. He said, come on, guys, you guys are delusional. And besides, Dodgers will win the World Series again at your guys' expense. We shall see. So, again, very funny that every time I've just put Dodgers in the thumbnail. And yes, it's a little bit of a cycle. Padres fans can't stop talking about Dodgers. Dodgers fans can't stop talking about the Padres. The difference is that the Dodgers are on top. So in theory, you really shouldn't care what we have to say about you, but you clearly do, and it really drives you nuts. And I think that that's adorable, right? Like, you keep saying you don't care, but you talk about us all the time. You know what I mean? Like, we're trying to beat you guys. We're the ones down here. It's kind of how it works. You know what I mean? So it's very odd. And number two, I did not say that. That was Woodsy. And Woodsy is a little bit more in tune with the industry and actually is around teams. So maybe back when this happened, which was not, by the way, and in fairness to the Dodgers, not when they were spending a lot of money necessarily. They were spending, but they weren't going crazy with the free agents the way that they are right now, right? Shohei Ohtani came into the league back in 2018. The Dodgers were not in the unimpenetrable force that they were right now with all these Japanese players. I heard that he was close to the Mariners. So would it have been really that crazy if he might have been close to choosing the Padres? I don't think so. I think it was clearly like a little bit of an open discussion, and we didn't know what he was going to be, right? So I don't know what you're talking about. And Woodsy's a lot more in tune than a random commenter on my channel. Juan Soto ruined our 23 season from at Ewei Chang once. I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know how to explain to people that Juan Soto was great that year. He wasn't Yankees great, but he was great, and the rest of the team was horrid. Tatis was coming off the injury and the suspension. Machado couldn't hit with runners on base, and we found out that injury. Xander Bogaerts couldn't hit with runners on base. Trent Grisham couldn't hit with runners on base. Jay Corner couldn't hit at all or with runners on base. Same thing for Grisham, and he got hurt. And just the entire team was a mess. And I think blaming it on Soto is ridiculous. Next, though, we've got from at Tony Sue 8860. Yes, good news on Arraez for now, and hopefully he goes through concussion protocols without complications. But he responded to my bringing up the Buster Posey thing. The Buster Posey incident was one of the most mischaracterized incidents of all time. Posey didn't suffer a concussion like Arraez, but a very serious leg injury. Okay, I didn't say there were some injuries, but anyway, go ahead. No one criticizes Posey for extending his leg in a vulnerable position to block the plate. Prior to this Posey injury, it was legal to block the plate, he says in parentheses. Instead of blaming Posey for playing improperly, baseball instead decided to change the rules that today require all defenders to allow a clear path to the plate or base. In the old days, although collisions happened, relatively few collisions happened at home plate because runners would be taking on the only fully armored player on the field. This is baseball's choice to remove physical contact in the game to protect major league club investments in players instead of teaching players how to play the game properly. First of all, an incredible job by you, Tony Sue, to victim blame. Just incredible stuff. Like, genuinely, really, really well said. I like that. Posey stretched out his leg wrong, so it's actually okay that the guy is lowering his shoulder to knock him down, right? And that's the reason they got rid of it. The reason they got rid of it is true, that it's Buster Posey. If this happened, in my opinion, to a lesser, highly regarded, like, Major League Baseball player, someone that isn't as beloved, not the best catcher in baseball, I don't know if we have a rule change. But bottom line is it was him. And I think everyone just kind of agreed. They're like, this isn't baseball, though. This is football. Why are we making it possible that you can just run over the catcher, right? Like, I think that that's insane. And I'm not saying that these situations were the same. But it was really brutal. Thankfully, it looks like Arraez is okay. Buster Posey was not okay, right? Like, he missed the rest of the season, basically. And I think that it was bad, and I'm glad that we got it out of baseball, because it's just not baseball. The same way unwritten rules aren't baseball, where I'm just pelting guys because I don't like the way that they dress, I don't like the way that they act, I don't like that they flip a bat. Like, it's just not baseball, and I think we should get that stuff out of the game. And while it didn't happen all the time, it's just a small thing that was really nice. The same way they added netting to the ballpark, or to say netting like on the foul lines. That way, when guys throw bats, it won't careen into the crowd and hurt someone the way that it did a few years back. I'm going to say it was in like 2016, 2017, around that time. Someone threw a bat into the stands or hit the ball there and it hurt someone. I think it hurt like a little kid. So yeah, does that happen all the time? No, but it was nice to just be like, let's just get rid of this. Right? Let's just change this. So I strongly disagree with that. And you also had another comment on this channel that I'm going to save for a future episode. That was about how you shouldn't complain about the Eric Hosmer contract because it got us Manny Machado. And I think that that is a little bit of a fallacy in some respects. The idea that Hosmer would have been the only one to bring in Manny. You know what I mean? Like an NBA type logic. But we'll talk about that on a future episode, guys. But not to end on a super sad note, or not sad, but less than exciting question, but I'm happy everybody sent out questions this week. Really happy you guys all enjoyed the episode with Woods. Might try and have him on again. Maybe even Ben as well. Just, good Padres vibes. And now we play against Detroit, a team that has been playing decent. Not amazing, but decent. And I think a big thing with them is that their offense has seen some players break out or come back to being a really good player, right? In the case of Spencer Torkelson being the number one, right? They have Riley Green. He's a good player, but Spencer Torkelson has been awesome this year. 193 WRC plus. He's got 7 home runs on the year. Kerry Carpenter's pretty good. So you've got some bats. And Riley Green hasn't even gotten going yet. So I'm going to be looking out for that. And then we've got Jack Flaherty. Don't know how that's going to go, but if everybody remembers, as I mentioned with the Ken Rosenthal incident, he was the one barking at Manny. They were going at it. So maybe you're going to see some fireworks there. I doubt it, because I've noticed that Manny these days is just a lot more calmed than he used to be back when he was younger. And in general, this Padres team is not very vindictive. Over the past 5 years, they kind of let stuff and they're like, whatever, we care about winning. We're not going to get into this. And not to mention, our superstar is showboating all the time too, so we're not going to get into this, right? So, and it's great. We love him for that. So really looking forward to the series. And of course, we'll be giving you recaps and potentially doing a crossover preview this week as well with the king of the Blue Jays podcast as well. Because why not? Or I'm sorry, Rays podcast. My guy Ulysses Sembrano, he might come on the show. So we'll see. But until that next time, everybody, stay safe. And of course, stay faithful. My Friday Faithful homies, take care.